Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Gitsky. Now, new details in a shooting that left a man dead in South Bakersfield. It happened on Serrano Avenue at about 1:30 a.m. BPD responded to the home where they found a man with multiple gunshot wounds. He died at the scene. His identity is not being released at this time. BPD is still investigating what led up to that shooting. Well, some good news for Kern County in its fight against COVID-19. County officials confirmed Kern is not on the state's watch list at this time. So places of worship, fitness centers, offices for non-essential sectors, personal care services, and indoor malls can continue to operate in the county. Still, County Administrative Officer Ryan Alsop wants to remind businesses to stand ready to once again close down at a moment's notice.
Once the state informs us that we have been added back to the monitoring list, the governor's new restrictions for those businesses will apply here in Kern County. And they will apply, and they will be applied for an indefinite period of time, again, until the state decides to announce otherwise.
A reminder, all bars across the state are required to close fully, and restaurants can operate takeout and outside services only. Now, forced to shut down a second time due to COVID-19, California hairstylists and barbers want Governor Newsom to cut them a break. In a letter sent to the governor Thursday, the Professional Beauty Federation of California is appealing to Newsom to allow hair salons and barbershops to operate outside, much like restaurants that have been permitted to do so. After opening, then closing again, some salons in Orange County have reopened a second time with operations outdoors. Current state law doesn't allow cosmetology and barbering outdoors, but State Assemblyman Jim Patterson, a Republican from Fresno, says Governor Newsom could easily change that.
If we don't get this remedy, these salons and these barbers and these individuals are going to be further thrown into this really dark hole.
Now, Governor Gavin Newsom is streaming live to give an update on the coronavirus crisis here in our state. Today, he is set to provide an update on California schools reopening amid the pandemic. Now, we will bring him to you as soon as he becomes available. In the meantime, now let's go to the latest on the coronavirus here in Kern County. We have the latest numbers that Public Health released just a few hours ago. They announced 159 new COVID cases. Our death toll stands at 105 still. More than 2,300 people are isolated in their homes. 166 are being treated at local hospitals. Now, that's 15 more patients than Public Health reported yesterday. A jump in pending cases. Over 1,600 tests are still waiting for their results. Well, you've heard about the various ways we as individuals can help slow the spread of COVID-19, like wearing a mask when you're out, maintaining social distancing when possible, and trying to limit public interaction outside of your home. Now, here's another way. If you have contracted and recovered from COVID-19, donate your blood plasma.
Those who have been previously diagnosed with COVID-19 and recovered from the illness, your blood plasma, which is rich in antibodies, can be donated to help build the immune system in someone who has a serious or life-threatening COVID-19 infection.
County Administrative Officer Ryan Alsop stressed the importance of donating plasma during yesterday's public health briefing. And Houchin Community Blood Bank is still asking for plasma donations. If you have had COVID-19 and have recovered, you carry certain antibodies in your blood plasma that could save the life of another person who is hospitalized for treatment. That plasma is being used as a therapeutic treatment to boost the immune systems of people who are currently sick with the virus. Now, we do have Governor Gavin Newsom set to speak. Let's take it over to him right now.
Here is the 5 principles that we are laying out in terms of our expectations. Here is our pandemic plan for schools in the state of California. Number 1, safe in-person school based, again, if you're going to be in person in the school, based upon local health data. And I'll walk through that bullet point in more detail in a moment. We have new mask requirements that we are putting forth today, some clarification and some constructive guidance on physical distancing and other adaptations that we expect to see within the school setting. We're putting out specific guidance as it relates to testing and contact tracing in our school system, and what we mean by distance learning. And the word rigorous is foundational. If we're going to have distance learning, and we will, to make sure that it's real, that we address equity, we address the divide, and it's quality. It's rigorous distance learning. Let's talk about number one. Using data, using the foundational data that we have laid out county by county all throughout the state of California. We are now putting forth guidelines that say schools can physically open for in-person education when the county that they're operating in has been off our monitoring list for 14 consecutive days. If you've tuned into these daily briefings, you're very familiar with our monitoring list. I'll be updating that list later in the presentation today. But we are now putting forth guidelines that say, based on the data, based upon the background spread, the community spread of the virus, that if you are not on that monitoring list, you can move forward as a county if you choose to physically open your campus, physically open your schools. However, schools that don't meet this requirement, they must begin the school year this fall through distance learning. Number two, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. Number two, we're putting forth a new mask requirement in the state. All school staff and students, all staff and students in third grade and above must wear masks. Students in the second grade or below, we strongly encourage wearing masks and face shields. I have a very young son, Dutch, and caregivers, when he first saw masks, he naturally recoiled. A lot of caregivers now have face shields, and he can see their expressions, their humanity, and that's why we put specifically guidance out as it relates to not just masks, but face shields as well. Our third frame of guidance that we're putting forth today is around physical distancing, and as I mentioned, other adaptations. So on the physical distancing side, we believe that it's incumbent upon staff to maintain at least a 6-foot distance between each other and a 6-foot distance between themselves and the students. We believe that school day should start with symptom checks, meaning temperature checks. We have robust expectations around hand washing stations, sanitation, deep disinfection efforts, and that these schools have, along the lines of the adaptations, have quarantine protocols. And we'll talk a little bit more in a moment about these continuity and attendance plans that each school site is now responsible for putting forth.
All right, you just heard the latest from Governor Gavin Newsom. Now he is talking about schools returning to the classroom. He is basing it off of 5 principles in order for schools to return if it is safe. And along those lines, schools can physically open if the county is off of the monitoring list for 14 consecutive days. That will be the case for those schools in those counties. Along with that mask requirement, students and staff over the age of 3rd grade will have to wear a mask. Now, it is strongly encouraged if you are younger than that. They also are looking at physical distancing, testing staff on a consistent basis, and learning to bridge that gap between those students who aren't able to get to technology and use those resources. Now, you can continue watching what Governor Newsom has to say on our Facebook page and on our website, KGET.com. All right, we are looking at another triple-digit heat out there. Let's send things over to our chief meteorologist, Alyssa Carlson.
Well, I hope everyone has a happy afternoon, happy Friday, and temperatures are going to heat up today. We have triple digits back in the forecast. Meanwhile, still looking for hazy skies and some poor air quality due to smoke from the mineral fire making its way into the southern edge of the valley. So Through the Central Valley, all the way down here into Kern County, we are under that air quality warning and a big plume of smoke up in the Bay Area through the Sacramento area. Meanwhile, the drought monitor released yesterday does show that Kern County is still out of the drought, but just north of the area, it's looking a little bit worse. A moderate drought category there up into the Fresno viewing area, over near Sacramento and into the Bay Area too. So they had a very dry winter and it's continuing to catch up with them. Meanwhile, the area of low pressure offshore moving westward today, and behind that we're not going to see as much moisture moving into our central Sierra. So don't really have any chance of thunderstorms in there. High pressure will be building on in. That's going to heat us up. 110 in Las Vegas this afternoon, 80 in LA, 81 in San Diego, and 103 in Fresno. Here's your forecast for Bakersfield. 100 this afternoon with sunny skies. Hot in Delano, 101. Wasco, 100. Buttonwillow, 101 as well. Taft, 98. Maricopa, 99. And 101 in Arden. In the mountains, temperatures will be near 99 in Lake Isabella, 99 in Kernville, 98 in Weldon, 89 in Tehachapi, 81 in Pine Mountain Club. Nice warm in the mountains and into the desert areas near 100, 97 in Mojave, 105 in Ridgecrest. Here's your forecast along the coastline, 60s near the bay, and then 67 in Cambria, 66 in Morro Bay, 66 in Pismo, 82 in Solvang, 74 in Santa Barbara, and then down into the San Diego area, 81 degrees. Heading to the beaches, sunny skies this afternoon, a cool 66 at Pismo. Maybe you're just going to enjoy the pool, as my daughter Eris has been. Well, 100 this afternoon. Sunny skies, hopefully it's not too warm in there and feeling like bathwater, right? Air quality and healthy for sensitive groups at AQI 101, and we'll be at 100 this afternoon, 102 Saturday and Sunday, near 100 next week. Lows in the lower 70s. Mountains, you'll be near 90. Upper 80s returning Monday into next week with lows in the lower 60s. And in the Kern River Valley, 99 today, 100 on Saturday, 99 on Sunday. And next week, we will be into the mid-90s. So a pretty typical end of July forecast around here with temperatures again in those triple digits. Stay hydrated and stay safe. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, thanks so much, Alyssa. Stay with us. We have more news right after this. 4 passengers who were on the Greyhound bus when a man opened fire have filed a lawsuit. They claim Greyhound was negligent and failed to enforce safety measures on its buses. Police say Anthony Devonte Williams opened fire on the bus traveling on I-5 back on February 3rd. 1 woman died. According to the suit, the transportation company did not adequately screen passengers before coming on board. According to the victims, they suffered, quote, severe mental anguish, humiliation, pain, severe emotional distress, and physical distress, end quote, as a result of that shooting. Williams is facing murder and attempted murder charges. His next hearing is set for October. Now, the search is back on for another person who went missing. Sergeant Zach Biddle says a 30-year-old man went into the water about a half mile inside the mouth of the canyon and didn't resurface. Now, it's unclear if he fell in or was going for a swim. He was not wearing a life vest at the time. Now, it's unknown if crews will be out again this weekend searching. And now to some crimes BPD is investigating this afternoon. The department is asking for help identifying a man wanted for vandalism. That happened at the Jack in the Box on Stein Road on June 3rd. Officers say the suspect smashed the windows on 2 cars in the parking lot of the restaurant. Then the suspect ran off. He's described as a man in his 30s and standing about 6 feet tall. BPD asks you to call them with any information regarding the case. Well, Thursday marked 1 year since the death of a well-known Bakersfield businessman, Jose Arredondo. Last year, his body was found in his condo in Cabo San Lucas, and evidence suggests he suffered a brutal death. Now his sister Laura is speaking out about his death. It's been a difficult year for the family, says Laura. She and her brother were very close. Jose founded Family Motors, the first in a string of successful dealerships, and Laura helped manage them. They were involved in charitable work as a way to give back to the community.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of him. I have, a big picture of him in one of my rooms. And that really helped me a lot, just going into his room and cry and scream and, why?
Now, Laura relies on a higher power, her faith in God, she says, to find justice for her brother. The Arredondo family is appealing to anyone who may have information about Jose's death to come forward. Well, new Kern County unemployment numbers paint a more optimistic future than predicted. Kern's unemployment rate dropped slightly last month since May. June's unemployment rate was 17.5%. Now that's down from 18.1% in May. That's according to the data from the State Unemployment Development Department. The rate is higher than last year at this time, which sat at 8%. Kern's unemployment rate is higher than the state's, which sits at 15.1% for the month of June. Kern County says the addition of more than 11,000 jobs were added last month as well. Well, if you're a student, faculty, or staff member on CSU Bakersfield campus, you may have been exposed to the novel virus. CSUB confirms an individual on campus has tested positive for coronavirus. According to the university, the person may have been contagious while on campus from June 30th through July 2nd. Now, the school says the information they now know led them to believe the individual was not in close contact with anyone on campus, along with them wearing a mask. The university is unable to provide any further details about that individual. CSUB has moved all of their classes online and has been following a strict approval process for anyone wanting to get back on campus. And the coronavirus has spread to another local care home. The Village at Seven Oaks reports 2 people in the memory care unit have tested positive. The 2 people are in isolation in a separate wing of the facility. The Village at Seven Oaks also says they are following CDC guidelines and implementing safety protocols. Outside guests and staff are restricted, and the staff and visitors who are let into the facility are screened for symptoms.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to KGET.com.